And welcome back, everybody, to Market Knowledge San Diego. Today, we've got a really interesting guest, co-founder and CEO of Senior Home Purchase Program. Rob Perkins is here. Hey, Rob.
Hey, Bob. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thanks for spending a little bit of the day with us today. I
Happy.
appreciate it. And so I think what you're doing is really interesting, and I want to get into the business side of it. But first, let's talk about you just a little bit. I know you went to the Bishop School. Are you from San Diego?
Yeah, I moved here when I was 2, and was born kind of the Ukaipa Redlands area, and then we moved down here, and yeah, so I grew up in North County, and then went to school up there. Went to elementary school in North County, and then went to high school at Bishop's.
Okay, so you moved here when you were 2. That's basically a native. We'll call you a native,
Close.
that for sure. Yeah. Okay, so you grow up in San Diego, then you go away to school back east, I think, to Wake Forest.
Correct.
And then you come back. And so is that when you get into, let's say, traditional real estate investment company?
Yeah, truth is, I had no idea what I wanted to do coming out of college. I majored in finance, and I was fortunate enough to know a big developer in town. I went to actually high school and college with his son, good friends with his son, named Doug Manchester. And that was my first job out of college, was working on what we just spoke about before we came online here is the Grand Del Mar. We were in the process. He had just recently purchased that property, and we had converted that golf club from a public golf club to a private golf club while I was there. And my job was really twofold. One is to sell the golf memberships, and 2 was to really design, develop, market, and sell the fractional villas, which were there was 8 villa units. We were going to build more, but we cut it down to 8. That were sold at 1/10 fractions. And so that was my first exposure to real estate, was through working for Doug Manchester.
Wow. So what was that experience like working for Doug?
It was amazing. It was an amazing experience. You learned a ton. I mean, the guy goes 1,000 miles per hour, and he's seen everything. And you learn a lot to what to do right and what to not do. And so, yeah, I got exposed to all parts of real estate, right? I mean, because we're doing into a development, so got exposed to working with the architects, the designers, the engineers, and then also, we're pre-marketing. We're trying to pre-sell those villas. So the marketing side, the sales side, transform, again, converting that golf course from public to private. So working with attorneys and so, you just had my hands in everything. And it was honestly what I like to do. I don't like to focus on one thing and try to become, somewhat of an expert in a lot of things. So it was great. It was a great experience.
So that's why I love doing this podcast, is because I learned these different things about people that I didn't know. So when you're working with Manchester, is there anything that because he's, as you know, a very famous guy in town. Is there anything that you took away from that experience that you still use today? Maybe like a little trait that something that he does every day?
Well, I mean, part of it is just his bulldog mentality, right? He doesn't give up. He keeps pressing forward no matter how many times he gets kicked down. And, I love that about him. And also there's a lot of publicity, negative and positive, about him, but deep down, the guy cares about people. He really does. And you can see that through the donations, through the community involvement, through the things he does. But he just cares. He cares for people, and I think that's important too. But yeah, I mean, really, I would say, coming back to it, it's his drive. Like he will never give up, never say no.
Yeah, that's I don't know Manchester, but that's what I hear about them as well. So after that experience, then is that when you get into the real estate investment, single family, multifamily market?
Yeah. So I was there for about a year and a half, and that was from 2005 to late 2006. And at the same time, I had my mother had come down with terminal cancer, and I have two older sisters and a younger brother. Two older sisters were working. One was in New York and one was in LA. And my brother was still in college. But everyone decided to move back to San Diego, and be around my mom for as long as she had left. And so at that time, we were kind of hitting a point where working with Doug, I didn't really know where this was going in terms of the sales volume started decreasing, and I just felt like was it time to kind of to move away and start doing my own thing, which is ultimately I kind of think what I wanted to do from the start. And so it was actually it was my dad's idea to bring all of the siblings in house and start our own company called Westview. And initially, I wanted to continue doing real estate, but we started the company in 2007, and in 2007 wasn't a great time to invest in real estate.
Yeah.
And so really the company started as we were financing my dad's in the life insurance business, and we were doing premium financing for his life insurance cases. And so that was for the first year and a half that our company was really focused on that venture. And then in 2008, the residential real estate market, as you know, started crashing. And we didn't know when it was going to, when the knife was going to finally fall to the bottom. But we took, I guess, somewhat of a risk. And in the middle of 2018, we decided to buy those single family homes that were being foreclosed on. And we were introduced by this opportunity by a guy named Greg Alexander, and presented it. At that time I had no way to get any funding, so I presented it to my dad, and I said, "Hey, Dad, what do you think of this?" And he said, "Let's move forward 100%." And so he financed our first portfolio of single family homes, and we bought 26 homes, and all cash, and we're buying them from the banks after they had gone through the foreclosure process. And the idea was just to rent them all out and wait for the market to come back. And that's what we did. And so we bought 26 homes, and then other people were kind of recognizing what we're doing. We were featured on the front page of Forbes when I was like 25 years old, and we were off and running. And then so we decided it was time to bring in outside capital, and so we raised our second fund geared to buying those distressed single family homes, and we allocated that from 2009 to 2010. And then we started getting into apartments, and we bought some apartments from 2010 to 2012.
So are you still in the single family as well, or now is it straight into the multifamily?
Yeah, so we are still in the single family space. In 2012, we stopped buying homes. The value started to come up. I don't know if you remember, there was a tax credit for first time home buyers to incentivize the market rebounding of $7,500 or $8,000, I think it was, for people to buy homes at the time. And then that pushed prices up a little bit, and we decided, we didn't want to continue buying at those values. So we just rented all them out and started holding them. At the same time, I was introduced to the co-founder partner of a local real estate investment firm, Mark Schlossberg, who runs Southwest Value Partners. And, I wanted to continue to grow my skill set and expertise and knowledge. And so I ended up joining Southwest Value Partners with my partner who started our real estate portion of Westview. And we joined them in June of 2012. And we still had all the real estate we purchased from Westview. We just hired some people to run the day-to-day there. And so I was there. I was with that firm for 2.5 years, and at that time, that company, much larger, private equity real estate firm, they buy all asset classes. But while I was there, we were primarily buying limited service, full service hotels across the country.
So I want to dig a little deeper on the relationship when you're an entrepreneur, and if you got that spirit, and you and your family, your father, start this business. What's that like when you're working with your family?
Yeah, so I was not working with my father. He was purely passive, just the money guy behind it. So really, I would just update him every once in a while. Hey, here's what we're doing. But there was no day-to-day involvement with my father. And, to be honest, I would never be able to work with my father on a day-to-day basis. And I think both of us recognize that now. So I had my college buddy was my partner. And then we had two other non-family partners. So it really wasn't a family business in that way, where you come to the office every day and you're going over a strategy and those sorts of things.
Okay, I got it. Well, and I've never had the opportunity to work with family, but I can understand some of the challenges that one might face in that situation.
Yeah, no, there's. I mean, I do now. Kind of fast forward. I do work with my sister. And it's been great, but there are challenges too. I think one of the things is that I've just kind of made a point of is when we get to the office, we're not talking about personal life. We're not talking about family. We're not talking about kids. We're not talking about what she did or I did that pissed her off at a birthday party. It's we're coming here to work, and we got to separate those two. And I think the more you can do that, I think the more success you're going to have in those sort of family businesses.
Right. Let's talk about the senior home purchase program, because I think this is super interesting. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit more about it first?
Yeah. So going back to the timeline, I left Southwest Value Partners at the end of 2014. And I didn't know what I was going to do. But at the same time, we had sold all those homes and apartments that I mentioned that we bought from 2008 to 2012. We sold pretty much all of them in 2014. And we had done pretty well in those. So I had some goodwill with our investors. And I just needed to figure out what the next opportunity was. So I started talking to people and just kind of jotted some ideas down. And one of the guys I talked to was my high school buddy. We played golf, and I said, "Hey, what are you up to? What do you see? What sort of opportunities are you seeing?" And he shared a few with me. One rose to the top, which was what ended up turning out to be the senior home purchase program, but was recognizing that at that time in 2014, there wasn't really a great option for not just seniors, but for anyone to sell their home in kind of a low stress, simple environment, right? It's hiring a real estate agent and selling your home and fixing up your home and going through showings is complicated, it's stressful, it's time consuming. And they're just other than, at that time, other than, selling your home for a discount at, 30 to 40% discount, to those flippers, those signs you see on the side of the road. There was either that or there was selling traditionally. And we wanted to fill that void that where you can sell and still have a lot of those conveniences to selling to those all cash buyers, but still get a good price for your home and have the hand holding, through every step of the process where you don't feel like you're being cheated or lied to. And you're getting reasonable value for your home.
Well, a lot of people my age, we've got parents who are aging, seniors, and a lot of them own property, and they've got garage full of stuff. And at some point, they're going to need to sell those and get into something smaller or some kind of a senior living facility. So I can see how there would be a lot of demand for this kind of a service.
Yeah, there is. It's a tremendous amount of demand. We didn't realize how much interest there would be until we started getting it out there and marketing it. And that actually kind of leads me to, so we started this company, Senior Home Purchase Program, 2015. And just this year, speaking to all the stuff you have in your home, we found early on, there's companies that specialize, not just, this is another void in the market that was filled years ago, but there's companies that, physically move your couches and your TVs and, other furniture from one location to another. But you still have to pack all that stuff up and organize it, at your existing house and then reorganize it at your new house and put it all away. And that's a lot of effort. Like, I just remember our current home that we live in 9 years ago, when we bought it, it took us 6 months to really fully move into that house. It just takes a long time because you have you're working, you have kids, you have things going on. And then when you're a senior, it's just, you're not as physically or emotionally capable of doing that quickly or doing it at all. So there's these companies, they're called senior move management companies. And they've been around for, I think, about 20 years or so, 20, 25 years. And what they do is they don't do the physical move, although they coordinate that with movers, but they help you pack, declutter, organize, sort. And then once you move into your new home, they'll put art on the walls, they'll put the couches in there, and they'll actually space plan for your new home. They take the floor plan of your new home and figure out what's gonna fit in that home before you put everything in the moving truck and then realize you ring in the front door, it's not gonna fit in the living room. And so the idea is that you walk into your new home and it feels like a new home day one.
Well, so you're meeting with seniors and their families, working out arrangements to buy the property and then move the senior into a different type of a housing situation.
That's correct. And so that we added that service in February of this year. We acquired a company in San Diego. The name of them is Senior Move Masters. They've been around for 17 years. And that's, so now we can acquire their home from them, and we can help with the packing, the moving, and get them in and move them into their new home. And it's the whole idea is simplicity, and take all the stress out of the move.
Well, and speaking about stress, and just, I'm sure there's a lot of emotion involved in these situations, because you've got the seniors who have their own vision and their way of life and probably don't want to change sometimes. Mm-hmm. And then their family, which may have some other goals in mind. Tell me about some of the challenges that you see there.
A lot of times we encourage the family to be involved from the start, because we know that's very important in the decision-making process. And honestly, from a legal side, we just don't want to have, children, in-laws, grandchildren coming back to us down the road, claiming that we took advantage of their family member. So we think it's very important for them to get involved early on. And then additionally, a lot of the children don't, like, if we don't do this, it's them taking this on.
Yeah.
Right. So they very more often than not, they appreciate and like and promote our service. And honestly, a lot of times it's kind of the senior, the homeowner, who's kind of going back and forth, and the children are like, no, mom, no, dad, like, you need this. Like, you really, really, we just dealt with this. Actually, we're closing on Friday, or I think Monday, a home up in Orange County in Mission Viejo, where the son was very much a proponent of our program, and it really helped in us actually closing that sale was him understanding that if we weren't doing it, it was gonna be his responsibility.
Oh yeah, I see that as probably the biggest advantage is, like you said, the burden's on the families to do this. And sometimes you get in a situation where your mom or your mother-in-law or whoever it may be, maybe they don't listen to their son or son-in-law, but they'll listen to Rob Perkins and his company, right? Mm-hmm.
It's also interesting, like you said this, and almost every person I've spoken to has gone through this experience, with a similar experience with their family members, their loved ones, right? Where they've had to move them out of a home, and they're like, yes, I can totally relate, because a month ago, a year ago, 5 years ago, I just went through this with my mom or my grandma or my sister or brother. And it's very relatable to people.
And I would assume just in the demographics of it all in your business model, there's so many people living longer now and getting to that age. Well, they need to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's part of, my interest of this model from the start is, the age where the baby boomers are now. And, we're not even in the kind of like the prime time for where those baby boomers are going to be to where they actually in big amounts will be moving out of their home. But yeah, and there's been definitely a push for aging in place and for the right people in the right situation, and technology is also allowing for that more so than it has previously. I think it's a good fit, but there are I think in a lot of scenarios, it's there's one remaining spouse. There's either the husband or the wife has passed and they're living alone in their home, and they just need that social interaction that they can't get, living alone at home. And a lot of times it's care needs as well, where it's more affordable to move into a community where the care is there rather than sending care to their house 24/7.
Is one of the challenges, and you spoke about this a little bit earlier, getting over the hump of, is this company for real? I mean, are they really going to do what they say they're going to do here?
Yeah, that early on that was. And that's part, we do things in a way where, well, first of all, I think we come off very credible with how we present our information on the website, how we present it through social media, how we present it in person. And we try to be as transparent as possible with information we provide. For instance, we tell them what their home is worth and and we compare that to what we're buying the home from them. So we tell them, hey, we're not like, if you're trying to suck every dollar out of your home, like, we're probably not the best fit for you. Mm-hmm. But if you want the convenience of what we can provide, then I think it's worth exploring further. So, traditionally, on average, we probably it's going to cost people probably $20,000 to $30,000 to use our program. But again, there's certainty, there's simplicity, there's taking all the stress out of the equation.
So what are you doing now as the CEO, founder of the company to advertise the business, getting out on podcasts like this? And I'm interested to hear how you're getting exposure.
Yeah, our idea in building this business was to build it through referral relationships, which has been our primary focus since day one, and referral relationships specifically in the senior industry. So our biggest referral partners are senior communities. So a senior community will have a prospective resident, and that resident owns their home, and they're really considered the community. But that thought of moving out of that community, moving out of their home, and going through that whole process is so overwhelming to them that it's too much for them to make that decision, move in the community. So they say, well, hey, there's this company, Senior Home Purchase Program, that can simplify all that. So that's our primary referral source. Other people who serve the senior industry, there's senior placement agents, there's these move management companies. And then, recently we've had to put a little bit more focus on traditional advertising through print ads in the paper, through a little bit of direct mail, through stuff like this. But, our goal, from a value standpoint, I think we're going to attain more value in our company if we can do it through this referral network. And that's really, and I know it's going to cost us more, and it's just going to take more time, but that's been our focus again since day one.
Well, it's one of those things, one of those businesses, people like me and that have parents, it's like it's coming, right? We know in the next 10 years we're going to have to deal with all that stuff in the garage and the attic, and that's a huge undertaking. So I'm sure you're going to be busy coming up here soon. Yeah,
I think so. We've had to adapt slightly with where the housing market has gone,
right?
Because some of our value propositions aren't as strong in the fact that any home is going to sell in any condition in today's market, right, and sell pretty quickly. And so we've actually launched a listing service along with our direct purchase, our senior home purchase program. Our listing service is called Simply Sell. So now when we go in to meet with people, we're offering our two options, right? We're offering our senior home purchase program option and our Simply Sell option. And really, we provide two different components to the Simply Sell, the listing service. One is to sell your home as is, and one is we'll invest a little bit of money into your home so you can get a little bit more value out of it. And we pay for all that up front and just get reimbursed once we sell the home. Okay,
last question. Try and make this as informational and helpful as possible. As, again, CEO, founder of the company, and you got your day-to-day activities, what are you doing? Or maybe there's a book that you read or someone that you follow that really helps you stay focused and kind of stay, directed toward your goals.
Well, I hired Dave Meltzer about a year ago, which is, I think, how we connected. And he's been very helpful in thinking big picture and allowing me to stay focused. As I think about the cost of what it's going to take to send my kids to school over the next, my youngest is 2 years old, over the next 16 or probably 20 years, like that keeps me pretty focused.
Right.
For me, I have an internal drive to be successful, to try to do as much of it on my own as possible. And so that's a big element that can keep me focused.
You mentioned
I have a rule of thumb that I will not play golf before Wednesday of the week, because if I get on the course Monday or Tuesday, I feel so guilty about not getting done what I need to be getting done.
You mentioned Dave Meltzer. So he's a personal business coach, let's say. So do you recommend a business coach? You think that's really helped you?
Yeah, it's been helpful. It's one of those things that's hard. It's hard to quantify the value of that. But I think he's been super, super helpful for me. When I was pitched an idea through another high school buddy of mine who's been working with him for a while. I have a lot of great mentors in my life, but unless you're paying someone to do it, they're not as committed to you as someone who would be paid to, someone like a Dave Meltzer. So he's responsible for, providing me good input and advice and responsible for, committing to working with me on a certain periodic basis. So I think that's just, I have other people in my life that I could go to that might provide similar input to Dave Meltzer, but having that commitment, I think, is so important.
I think that's great advice. Rob, thanks so much for being on the program today. I really appreciate it. And what's the best place for people to reach you?
They can either visit our website. It's westviewshpp.com. They can contact me directly on my cell phone if they ever want to chat about anything in regards to my business or what I've done thus far. My cell phone number is 858-437-2976, and my email is Rob, R-O-B, at westviewfg, like financialgroup.com.
Okay, Rob, I'll put it on my website and all the social media posts as well. So again, thanks so much. Continued success, and I look forward to talking again soon.
Thanks, Bob.
Bye-bye.
Bye.